Stretching across the border of North Carolina and Tennessee, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a hiker's paradise and the most visited national park in the US. Famous for its signature mist that drapes the blue-green peaks, the Smokies captivate visitors with over 800 miles of scenic trails winding through old-growth forests, wildflower-filled meadows, and cascading waterfalls. Hikers love the park for its enchanting variety. One moment you're following a peaceful woodland stream, and the next you're standing atop Clingman's Dome, gazing over a sea of mountains. Beyond its breathtaking landscapes, the Smokies offer a rare sense of timelessness, where nature, wildlife, and remnants of Appalachian history intertwine to create an unforgettable outdoor adventure. In the autumn of 1981, Polly Melton set out for a day in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park with her husband, Bob, and two close friends, Trula Gudger and Pauline Red Cannon. The mountains had always been a source of joy and peace for Polly. She visited the Smokies often and had spent nearly 2 decades hiking the Deep Creek Trail. The Deep Creek Trail, nestled near Bryson City, North Carolina, is one of the most peaceful and scenic routes of the park. Known for its gentle paths, rushing creeks, and waterfalls like Tom Branch and Indian Creek Falls, it's especially stunning in autumn when the forest bursts into warm colour. Thelma Pauline Polly McAllister was born in Alabama in 1923. In 1975, she married her third husband, Robert Melton, whom she met while living at her father's trailer park in Swain County, North Carolina, where Robert was a co-owner. A retired schoolteacher, Polly spent most of the year living with Robert in Jacksonville, Florida, but from late spring through late fall, the couple set up their Airstream at the base of the Great Smoky Mountains. Their trailer was fully equipped for long stays, and the campground itself fostered a close-knit community. Only about 10 families lived there, and newcomers were carefully screened, creating a tight, almost neighbourhood-like environment for the seasonal residents. When the group of Polly, Bob, Red and Trula arrived on September 25th, 1981, Bob, who was 20 years older than his wife and in fragile health, chose to remain in their Airstream trailer while Polly and her friends ventured out. The Deep Creek Trail was one of the park's easier routes, winding gently through forest and beside clear mountain streams, making it the perfect choice for a relaxed afternoon walk. Polly and her friends enjoyed a calm afternoon walking along the trail, but as they began making their way back toward the campsite, her pace started to quicken, following a light-hearted comment from one of her friends, saying, quote, "I wouldn't want to be in a foot race with you, Polly." Her friends also teased her about a man who appeared to be smitten by Polly at the Bryson City Presbyterian Church Nutrition Center, where she regularly volunteered and delivered food. Before long, she had moved ahead of the others, disappearing over a small rise in the trail, pausing for just a moment and waving to her friends. Her friends thought she was in good spirits and noted nothing unusual. They expected she'd simply return to the trailer ahead of them. However, when they arrived back at the campsite around 4:30 p.m, Polly was nowhere in sight. Bob, still resting in the trailer, said he hadn't seen her since she left for the hike earlier that day. Concerned when Polly didn't return, her friends retraced their steps to the spot where they had last seen her and began searching the surrounding area. Despite their efforts, there was no sign of where she might have gone. Around 6 p.m, roughly 2 hours after Polly was last seen, her friends reported her missing to a park ranger. The Deep Creek Trail, which follows the flow of its namesake creek, was one Polly knew well, and there was no evidence that anyone had strayed from the well-marked path that afternoon. In the days following Polly's disappearance, an extensive search effort was launched. More than 150 people and 9 trained search bloodhounds scoured the Deep Creek area for any trace of her. At one point, a search dog indicated interest near a fallen tree, leading rescuers to believe Polly might have paused there briefly, but no further scent trail could be found beyond that spot. Park Ranger Chuck Harris told the media, quote, "We are just puzzled at this point. The trail she was on is well travelled and she apparently knew it well. Polly had been taking medication for high blood pressure and nausea at the time and was known to carry Virginia Slims cigarettes, usually smoking 2 a day. She was described as a white female, 5 foot 11 inches tall, weighing between 170 and 180 pounds, with auburn hair, brown eyes and glasses. When last seen, she was wearing a sleeveless pink and white striped blouse, tan pants, tan low-cut shoes with crepe soles, the left shoe marked by a crack across the ball of the foot, and her jewellery included a diamond-studded white gold wristwatch and a wedding band. When Polly vanished, she had no money, identification or medication with her. She wasn't allowed to drive that month, so she didn't have her car keys, and her husband kept the keys to their trailer. Nothing about that day seemed unusual, except that Polly chose to not go to her regular volunteer shift delivering meals to seniors at Bryson City Presbyterian Church Nutrition Centre, something she rarely missed. The day before, she had made several phone calls from the volunteer centre's phone, which was out of character for her. She hadn't used it once in the 4 years she'd volunteered there. Investigators were unable to trace those calls, leaving it unclear whether they had any connection to her disappearance. Her husband, Robert, told authorities that he had no clue as to what could have been the catalyst for Polly's vanishing. He believed that their marriage was a strong one, and she had no reason to voluntarily disappear. Polly's pastor, Tom Harris, later revealed that she had been struggling emotionally since the death of her mother earlier that year. She had once been prescribed Valium as a muscle relaxant in 1979, but had stopped taking it before 1981. Interestingly, after she disappeared, her husband's bottle of Valium was found missing, though it was never confirmed that Polly took it. Her pastor also suggested she might have been involved in an extramarital relationship, though this claim was never proven. At the time she went missing, there was no indication that Polly Melton intended to harm herself. Although she had experienced brief periods of depression in the past, friends and family said she hadn't shown any signs of distress before her disappearance. Then, months later, in April 1982, a check made out to Polly Melton was cashed in Birmingham, Alabama. Authorities investigated the lead thoroughly, but it ultimately provided no answers, and the trail went cold once again. There are several theories that have emerged over the years about what might have happened to Polly Melton. Due to her stature, authorities did not believe that Polly had been abducted. However, it is not beyond the realms of possibility. Some believe that Polly chose to vanish on her own. There are a few points that support this idea. She was reportedly unhappy, still grieving her mother's death, and possibly involved in an affair. The untraceable phone calls she made the day before she vanished could suggest she was arranging to meet someone or planning a getaway. Rushing away from her friends may have indicated that she had put a plan in motion, and the check cashed in her name in Birmingham months later might indicate she was alive and trying to start a new life elsewhere. However, nothing was ever confirmed. Given her age and medical history, it's possible Polly suffered a sudden health crisis while on the trail. If she wandered off the path in distress, dense forest cover and rough terrain could have made it easy for searchers to miss her, even with dogs and large teams. Another theory is that Polly may have accidentally slipped or fallen into a hidden ravine or creek bed, becoming trapped or injured in an area too difficult for rescuers to reach. The Smoky Mountains are full of thick brush, steep slopes, and fast-moving streams. Some speculate she could have been attacked by wildlife, though there was no evidence of that during the search. It's also been proposed that Polly could have experienced a moment of confusion or dissociation. Emotional distress, medication side effects, or a sudden cognitive lapse might have caused her to wander away from the trail unintentionally, losing her bearings and becoming hopelessly lost in the vast wilderness. Polly's loved ones never accepted the idea that she would simply abandon her husband or disappear without a word. By all accounts, such an act would have been completely out of character. After her disappearance, Robert eventually entered a nursing home, and friends remained convinced that something sinister had happened. One theory suggested Polly might have been the victim of a robbery. On the day she vanished, she was wearing several pieces of diamond jewellery, which could have caught someone's attention as she walked alone along the trail. Some even speculated she may have encountered the wrong person near an area known as Poke Patch, a spot with a reputation for drug activity. However, Poke Patch was several miles from where Polly was last seen, and the Deep Creek Trail was not an isolated route. It was frequented by other hikers that day. Investigators pointed out that if Polly had been attacked or dragged off the path, someone nearby likely would have seen or heard the struggle. Though there is no direct evidence, some wonder if Polly met with foul play, perhaps encountering a stranger or someone she knew in the park. If she'd arranged to meet someone secretly, as her pastor suggested, that meeting could have turned dangerous. The lack of any trace, no belongings, scent trail, or evidence adds a chilling uncertainty to the mystery. Polly's father did not wish to think that his daughter had passed, and lived the rest of his life hoping for a positive outcome. Polly was legally declared deceased in 1988, however is still listed as a missing person. Polly's sister, Kit, waited until their father passed away before arranging a formal memorial service for Polly in 1991. Decades later, Polly Melton's disappearance remains a haunting mystery, with no trace of her ever found, and the questions surrounding that autumn day in the Smokies still unanswered.